Coincidence is God's way of remaining anonymous. We're going to follow a trail of coincidences that hopefully by the end of this you will just go, all right, something truly spectacular is happening all around us every day that we're not aware of.
Rankin reveals knowledge that might keep you awake at night. There are some strange coincidences happening in the universe, and it's really intriguing. Let's begin with the sexagesimal math, which uses a base 60 number system instead of the usual 10. This system is rooted in sacred geometry, cosmic order, and ancient spiritual traditions. The number 60 and its factors show up in every facet of life. 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, and music beats use base 60 divisions. There are also 60 divisions in the ancient Sumerian calendar, 60 kings in the ancient text, and the Egyptian god Osiris was cut into 60 parts by his brother. Military time is also in 60-second segments, reinforcing the sexagesimal system in modern technology. What is it about this number, and why do certain numbers hold more spiritual significance than others? Stick with me here because together we're about to uncover a whole new dimension to everyday math. Sexagesimal math mirrors natural cycles, time and celestial movements, for example. Several spiritual traditions believe that geometry and numbers are the language of the cosmos. If higher order beings or gods cannot speak with you, math is how they can connect with you. Rankin explains.
But this sexagesimal math system is based on 6s and 12s. That 6-ness of it is how a circle became 360 degrees. It was probably inspired by the rotation of our Earth being close to 360 rotations. Maybe it was millions of years ago. But once you started plotting equilateral triangles in a circle, and it held 6 perfectly to be either a hexagon or perfect pie slices, that size, they were 60 degrees. So 60 times 6 is 360.
Even Albert Einstein said that coincidence is how God remains anonymous. Certain numbers connect us to something far greater than ourselves. Another number that pops up quite a lot in ancient texts is 432.
Look at this. You take the great year, they call it, one great year, 25,920, divided by the 12, you get a geometric form, the cube. 25,920 divided by the next 12, you get 1080, the geometry of an octagon. 25,920, 36, 720 is a hexagon. 25,920 divided by 48 is a pentagon. And then we get this mysterious 432 number. 25,920 divided by 60 is 432, which we will see all over the place in ancient myth and technology stories. This is the slide, even though there's no pictures. When I present to a bunch of physicists or scientists, this is the slide that makes them sit back and go,
Simply put, the great year is a super long cycle that takes 25,920 years, and it's related to how the Earth wobbles slowly as it spins. If you divide that number by 60, you get 432, and this magic number shows up everywhere. There are 43,200 seconds in half a day. The sun's diameter is roughly 864,000 miles, and that's just 432,000 times 2. The number 432 is linked to sound and music as well. Ancient cultures believed that tuning musical instruments to 432 Hz was more in harmony with nature, and it made everything feel more balanced. It's like the universe is built around it in some way. The sexagesimal system forms the basis for any sacred geometric shapes, like the circle divided into 360 degrees, which can be broken into equilateral triangles, which are 60-degree angles forming hexagons and other shapes found in sacred geometry, like the flower of life. Sacred geometry encodes the fundamental patterns of existence, symbolizing harmony and unity. By using a system based on 60 and 360, ancient cultures were actually tapping into these cosmic patterns.
We're still living in this 60-degree matrix ourselves. We measure time by 60 seconds to a minute, 60 minutes to an hour. We measure the Earth by 60. And a lot of people would argue that and say, no, it's kilometers most around the world, or it's miles, statute miles. Well, actually, if you're a plane pilot or a boat captain, it's 60 nautical miles. It's a nautical mile is 6,000 feet. 1 degree of latitude is 60 nautical miles. So in the official way we measure the Earth, still sexagesimal math.
On top of that, numbers like 12 and 60 are usually found in spiritual traditions. There are 12 signs of the zodiac, 12 disciples of Jesus, and 12 hours of day and night. Ancient civilizations like the Sumerians, Egyptians, and Babylonians used sexagesimal math not just for practical reasons, but because they believed these numbers reflected divine perfection and cosmic balance. That's why certain numbers like 12, 60, and 432 appear so many times in ancient texts and all around us. Here's another example.
So 432 seems to be like related to planet Earth itself. Well, if we're talking in musical terms, we have double that in the sun, 864, and the moon is half at 216. The moon's diameter is 2,160 miles. This is an insane bit of coincidence, as Einstein would say.
It's almost engineered to be that way. Have you ever noticed how the moon and the sun appear to be the same size in the sky, even though they're clearly very different? The reason we notice this during eclipses is due to this specific ratio. Buckminster Fuller was possibly the first modern-era thinker to actually dive into this base 16 number system and explain its true value. Rankin explains.
Mr. Fuller wrote 2 giant books called Synergetics 1 and 2, said 60-degree math reveals nature's behaviors physically and metaphysically, and went on to say, because society does not understand the significance of 60-degree geometry, we may conclude that society does not understand nature. That's a big thing to say about us.
What Fuller essentially said was, society's inability to understand the importance of this kind of math and geometry shows a bigger disconnect with nature. He believed that learning about geometric ideas like the 60-degree angle could help us understand how natural systems work. He often said that nature works in ways that are efficient and sustainable, and we can apply the same ideas to human design. For example, many shapes in nature are symmetrical and efficient, like the equilateral triangle. By studying these patterns, we can build more sustainable technology and structures. This isn't just theory. Proof of this exists all around us. The pyramid complex of Giza is one of the most famous examples of equilateral triangles in architecture. Each triangular face of the pyramids is an equilateral triangle, contributing to their stability and longevity. These structures have remained for over 4,000 years, showing that geometric design can stand the test of time. The Eiffel Tower in Paris also uses triangular shapes to distribute weight correctly. That's how this seemingly lightweight structure is able to tolerate incredible wind forces and other stresses while remaining an iconic symbol of France. You also have the Dices Church of Polish Shallow Sea, which uses triangle motifs to symbolize elements of nature and spirituality. And if you've ever been to it, you know how beautifully these triangular shapes capture light. Triangles are inherently stable shapes because they distribute weight evenly across all 3 sides, and so Fuller thought that not understanding these geometric ideas could lead to designs and systems that are wasteful or harmful to the environment. He felt that if people learned more about geometry and how it applies to the world, we'd gain a greater respect for nature and come up with new, smarter ways to tackle global problems. Of course, leading us away from the base 60 math system and forcing us into something more unsustainable has always been the plan.
Take the level up code that's being forced upon us. I think before we even understand how significant the pineal gland is and its activation, we will be taken permanently off the track. We were set off the track by 432 tuning. That used to be official tuning. Now it's 440. Everything that I just talked about, when it's 440, none of it makes sense.
The ancient Sumerians and Egyptians would tune musical instruments to 432 Hz to be in better harmony with nature, but modern systems have shifted away from natural or harmonic systems like the base 60 and 432 Hz, and it is now 440 Hz which disrupts the natural harmony embedded in ancient systems. Rankin goes on to explain that without understanding these codes and frequencies, we risk being manipulated into a system that doesn't align with our true potential. This disconnect can manifest in many ways, from increased stress and tension to a feeling of being disconnected from our surroundings or potential. And the effect of sound frequencies on the human mind is not a new subject. Studies and investigations have found how different pure tones affect human emotions. And in one study, they specifically compared the effects of 432 Hz and 440 Hz frequencies. And what they found was incredible. Results indicated that music tuned to 432 Hz caused a slight decrease in heart rate by approximately 4.79 beats per minute, and a decrease in respiratory rate, suggesting a calming effect compared to 440 Hz. Participants also reported higher satisfaction and focus during sessions with 432 Hz music. Another study, this time focused only on patients with spinal cord injuries, found that listening to music tuned to 432 Hz significantly improved sleep quality compared to music at 440 Hz. There was another study involving emergency nurses during the COVID-19 pandemic. It showed that listening to music at 432 Hz reduced anxiety levels more effectively than music at 440 Hz. There were obvious improvements in vital parameters and subjective perceptions of stress and productivity among nurses who listened to the lower frequency. So, it's obvious. By ignoring these harmonic frequencies, we are unknowingly trapped in a system that keeps us out of sync with our natural state.
But the unique thing about us as a species is we get to choose. And from here, we are not only the civilization that probably gets to put these puzzle pieces together, we get to choose what we're going to do with them. Because let me tell you folks, what's coming down the pipe is an up level that you might not want to fully participate in. We're evolving, but we're evolving into better consumers and taxpayers and employees, mortgage payers, soldiers, cops, consumers, when really what I think these codes were designed for us for was to grow us organically into our true potential. Our true potential is not what a company wants you to reach. They don't want you to be happy with where you are.
The base 10 math system is built around units of 10, primarily because humans have 10 fingers. It sounds practical enough, but the number 10 doesn't actually have any connection or significance to our natural environment. It actually divorces us from ourselves and natural harmony. Base 10 math doesn't align as seamlessly with the natural world cycles, unlike the 360-degree circle, which reflects the rotation of the Earth and the division of time into 60 seconds per minute and 60 minutes per hour. These numbers resonate way more with natural cycles and geometry, but when we focus on base 10, we may become more disconnected from these natural harmonic patterns. Numbers like 12 and 60 are also divisible by more factors, making them more harmonious in geometry and in measuring time. Base 60, for example, divides evenly into halves, thirds, and quarters, allowing for a natural flow in measurements. By using base 10, we lose some of this mathematical resonance, potentially making it harder to feel in tune with natural rhythms. Base 10 math is also more efficient and logical, but it's overly focused on practicality and it severely lacks intuition. It places far more importance on logic and efficiency rather than on finding connections and understanding the world. Which is, of course, not how it used to work. And it's no secret why we have made the shift from a base 60 to a base 10 math system. It's also the reason Rankin feels we are likely stuck in an escape room simulation. And the cheat code to getting out lies in these recurring numbers we see all around.
We may be living in an escape room simulation. Has anybody ever been in an escape room or know what they are? They're a diversion. Usually you pay to go in it. It's a scary room of some sort. You feel a little bit threatened. There's a clock ticking and there's codes somewhere hidden all around here. Well, the first thing we have to think of is somebody else built the room and somebody gave you the codes. It's up to you to figure them out.
Rankin is essentially saying that in such rooms, you're surrounded by puzzles, clues, and sometimes even fear-inducing elements. To get out, you have to solve these puzzles, connect the dots, and find your way through. Similarly, in our world, things seem to be getting more intense with control, conflict, and distractions all around us, We're stuck following the rules, just like players in an escape room. But what if we had cheat codes? These codes would help us see beyond the surface and solve the puzzles of life. If we use them wisely, we can level up and escape the maze of distractions and control. The difference is that, unlike in a regular escape room, we have a choice. We get to decide if we want to unlock these doors or stay trapped in a system that forces us to be better consumers, taxpayers, and workers. What society calls evolution isn't evolution. It's greed for money, power, and success, not personal growth or connection. The cheat code here is to embrace ancient knowledge, because the number of times these specific numbers have shown up, randomly and seemingly unconnected, throughout the world is fascinating.
But they seem to be implanted in us. When we see 144, 72, 432, these numbers, 216, 108, just like that, this seed of life pattern has shown up in the world before we knew the world was communicating with itself. I believe this is in Indonesia, this is Italy, this is Egypt, this is Japan, this is Israel, and that's supposedly the top of the temple complex that was destroyed, where the Wailing Wall is, and that's where the Ark of the Covenant was held. And look at this symbol that's at the top of the ceiling. It's the flower of life, or the seed of life. Crop circles often have that 2D shape.
That cannot be a coincidence. These ancient civilizations with no actual communication channels to pass on this knowledge have all come to similar conclusions. It's the same with astrological signs. From Celtic and Greek astrology to Chinese, Vedic and Egyptian, they all have 12 zodiac signs and have divided the sky into 30-degree segments, 12 times 30, 360. They all seem to silently agree on certain ways of operating when it comes to spirituality and math systems. And just like these civilizations seem to agree on spiritual and mathematical systems without ever communicating, Buckminster Fuller believed that the universe itself has a natural, underlying order that people just fall into, a geometry that guides both physical and spiritual realities. He called this concept the vector equilibrium.
I took the architecture of the vector equilibrium. It has 12 vectors, 12 spokes emanating out from 0 point. But instead of those flat static lines that only exist in our brains, I replaced them with the trion ray, a pulse. So you could call it a pulse equilibrium. There's the trion ray again. A pulse equilibrium. The same exact offset, the same exact length. There's 60 degrees of arc, because that's what sacred geometry is.
According to Fuller, this is the perfect shape that represents balance in the universe. All of its points are equally spaced from the center, making it perfectly symmetrical. This shape can expand indefinitely while maintaining its balance, just like how energy in the universe flows in harmony. Fuller thought this wasn't just a neat geometric fact, but a profound clue about the structure of the universe. He believed the vector equilibrium holds the key to understanding how nature operates on both a visible, physical level and an invisible, metaphysical one. It's like a blueprint for how everything from atoms to galaxies maintains balance and flow.
But he believed the vector equilibrium was the geometric essence if our universe is geometric in nature. And physicists now are beginning to think that's exactly what it is. It is a geometric construct.
And as we've established, Fuller saw this shape not only in geometry, but as a reflection of nature itself. Just like how ancient civilizations repeatedly arrived at the same numerical patterns and spiritual beliefs, Fuller felt that understanding shapes like the vector equilibrium would help us reconnect with the natural world and its deeper truths. Now that we know this, how can we begin reclaiming our power from these misaligned and oppressive systems? First, we need to start recognizing the ancient patterns and knowledge that are all around us. These patterns, like sacred geometry and numbers such as 432, show us how the universe is naturally balanced. One of the most important steps we can take is tuning ourselves back into natural frequencies. Modern life is noisy, fast, and stressful, but when we listen to sounds and music tuned to 432 Hz, it can help us feel more relaxed. focused and connected to the world. Even modern studies have proven that music at 432 Hz can lower heart rate, reduce anxiety, and improve sleep. This frequency is more in harmony with nature, and even though it seems like a tiny difference from 440 Hz, the impact is incredible. Another way to reconnect is by looking at sacred geometry. Shapes like the vector equilibrium and the flower of life show how everything in the universe is connected and balanced. The more we acknowledge this obvious interconnectedness, the easier it will be for us to break out of the escape room built for us. We can leave the prison and the materialism and find more harmony with each other and nature. The systems we live in today, whether it's work, school, or even time, are set up to distract us and keep us from realizing our true potential. But we can choose to look for the hidden cheat codes, like the recurring numbers and patterns that have been passed down through civilizations. Reclaiming your power doesn't have to mean a huge dramatic show. It can be quiet and deliberate. Tiny intentional shifts that compound to bigger changes. The clues are all around us, hidden in the patterns of ancient wisdom. Question is, are you ready to acknowledge them and receive them?